I'm about to divide the room. Who really is the greatest F1 driver of all time? Who is the undisputed King of Kings? Who is the coveted GOAT? I guess it's time to press the issue on something that's pretty controversial. The greatest of all time debate. It's never going to end, is it? But how do you even measure it? Because you have to take in so much, take so much into account. Because if it's titles, then, at least at the time of recording this video, it's Schumacher. 7 titles, Hamilton has 6. If it's surviving the death-filled early years, then Fangio or even Stewart. If it's about driving the wheels off every time they get into a car, then you're immediately going to say, well, it's Senna, it's Gilles Villeneuve. And if you want to add in the ability to win in everything they ever drove, then pop that crown on the head of Mario Andretti or Jim Clark. But it seems to be numbers that are the determining factor in this sort of thing. For numbers, it's Schumacher. Well, it has to be, doesn't it? 7 titles. But Hamilton has 93 wins. But he's always had the best car! He's a crybaby! Bono Matthias, man! Schumacher built that team! There are so many different eras, so many different regulations, so many different circuits, so many different ways of determining the greatest. Hamilton, yes, has had more races a season than Schumacher, but Schumacher, in turn, had more races a season than Fangio. Schumacher had between 16 and 18 a season on average, but in the 50s there were only 8 or 9. If anything, consistency means more in a shorter season because you have fewer opportunities to turn it around if you've had a bad start to the season or just one bad race. When it comes to labelling the greatest, it's usually a pick from one of 5 drivers. Fangio, Clark, Senna, Schumacher and Hamilton. They're all from different eras. They all have vastly different machinery to drive over the course of their careers. Put into simple terms, Fangio had cars with skinny tyres and a lot of power compared to said skinny tyres. He didn't have seatbelts and the helmets were closer to what Frankie Dettori would wear at the Grand National. Jim Clark had a 400 horsepower bathtub that blew up if it as much as looked at something to crash into. Senna had turbo-powered monsters that had a 1.5 litre warp drive in the back. Schumacher had cars with traction control at the peak of his powers. And Hamilton has had a bloody good car for the last 7 years. But would Clark be able to drive Hamilton's Mercedes? Probably not. Would Schumacher be able to go quick in Fangio's Alpha? Doubt. So if the cars are different, then we need to look at statistics. Because they're what matters, right? You can't argue with stats. Fangio won 46% of the races he entered, 24 from 52. Hamilton has won 93 of 263. 35%. Senna is 9th on the list with just 25% and is behind Lee Wallard, Bill Vukovic and Sir Jackie Stewart. So Vukovic and Wallard are better than Senna, right? And you're all going to say no. I know you're going to say no. Because Senna won more races or ran more races and so on and so forth. There's too many variables here as well. So if there are too many variables in the cars, too many variables on the amount of races entered, too many variables on the length of a season, factor in, well, this driver had a break of 4 or 5 years, this driver got killed and never reached his full potential, this driver was 40 when he started his career, and there are too many variables in the tracks as well. Because winning on the original Nürburgring would probably be more of an achievement than winning on the layout that was used this year. Because back in those days, you either went into a tree on fire, or you went down the side of an embankment. On fire. Jackie Stewart ended up in a woodcutter's hut after wiping out of the Belgian Grand Prix in 1965, and then went on his safety crusade. And he's a great just for that alone, rather than his 3 world titles. So, what about their on-track antics? That'll work, won't it? Fangio and Clark were gentlemen drivers. Senna and Schumacher's methods were often deemed controversial. Senna with Suzuka in 1990, Schumacher with 1994 and 1997. But that doesn't suit my beliefs, so we'll just chuck that right out. And obviously, Hamilton's successes will be due to being an average driver in a dominant car, which has just wiped 3 of the 5 drivers off the running for the absolute greatest list thing. You know what I'm on about. So I guess the TLDR of this whole video is we can't declare an absolute greatest driver other than via your own opinions. And those statistics will easily be twisted to suit your agenda. People in the comments are either going to be in the Schumacher or Senna camp, but in this little chat, I've only just scratched the surface. What if you include non-F1 drivers? Who really is the greatest driver of them all? And again, that's going to be very, very difficult to work out. If you were to look at pure driving ability across all motorsports, factor in endurance racing, rallying, oval racing, dirt oval racing, this, that, and the other, you're narrowing it down to 5 is going to be even harder, and the list would probably exclude Senna, Schumacher, Hamilton, and Fangio immediately. Clark, Sebastian Loeb, Tom Christensen, Mario Andretti, Graham Hill. Fuck it, let's throw Valentino Rossi in there as well. So what do you think? Who really is the greatest driver of all time, or is it just a pointless exercise that we're never going to answer, so we should just stop trying and stop arguing about on the internet? Let me know in the comments, and let's get a discussion going, because that is the reason pressing issues exist. So if you enjoyed the video, give it one of them. If you thought it was shit, give it one of them. And I look forward to seeing you in the comments and in a future video where I look at other things that might need answering over the course of Formula 1 and racing and all that good stuff. That's pretty much how pressing issues is going these days. So, like I say, like and subscribe if you want more or enjoy the video. And also a massive thanks to the patrons of the channel who are going up on the screen right now. Thank you for your continued support over the month and a bit I was gone, but I'm back, sort of. I don't know where this is going to go. I'm going to try. I'm going to keep on trying. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I've been AdmiralLaWind, and I'll see you next time for another video. So until then, bye-bye.